I work at Prescott College. I'm the Social Justice Community Organizing faculty, and it is my distinct pleasure and privilege to be the MC of today's event, which is the 6th annual Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Day. But to get things started off, I'm going to ask Reverend Dan Hobart to come up. Thank you.
My name's Dan Hurlbert. I'm the senior pastor here at Prescott United Methodist Church. And on behalf of our church community here, I want to welcome you to the church this very important day where we celebrate the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Although he was a Baptist, he was educated in one of our 13 United Methodist seminaries at Boston University. So we claim him as part of the family, and proudly so. So again, on behalf of the family, I welcome you to Prescott United Methodist Church, where our hearts, our minds, and our doors are always open.
Next, St. Luke Ebony Christian Church Choir will sing Ride On King Jesus. Where's the choir?
Bring him up.
This is not a solo. Others are coming.
Okay. Some of the choir members went to the restroom. I do apologize. Hurry up. Well, praise the Lord. Happy MLK Day. It's good to see everybody come together as one. Praise God. Amen. We're going to be doing a cappella today.
you very much, ladies. That was amazing. Next, we will have a short video clip presentation. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream.
I have the pleasure to present to you Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. Years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day every valley to sing with new meaning, my country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring, and if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the hiking Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. From every mountainside. Let freedom ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city. We will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Next, I would like to invite Mayor Pro Tem Billy Ward forward to read a proclamation from the City of Prescott.
Good morning, everyone. What a great day this has been so far. A little chilly, but it's a great day, and God bless you all for being here. I was here a couple of years ago and read a proclamation. Today it means a little more. Tomorrow I'm also going to read this proclamation at our City Council, and I've asked two young ladies to join me. Before I do that, I'd like to recognize Michael Lamar, our City Manager, who's also here. So these two young ladies, because it's all about the kids, isn't it? For these two young ladies, I'd like to introduce my little sister, Mackenzie Cheney. Mackenzie just said to me, his dream came true. Yes, it did, because they all hold hands now. And also, I'd like to introduce Edie Lamar, Michael and Deanna Lamar's daughter. So if you ladies would hold the proclamation up so people can see it as I read, so you and Edie can hold on to that together. There you go, Mackenzie, thank you. Proclamation, Martin Luther King Day of Service. Whereas in remembrance and honor of Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., we will remember to treat all people, regardless of race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender, or religious and spiritual practice with dignity and justice. Whereas we will remember that nonviolence leads to peace and to the manifestation of a beloved community. And we certainly have a beloved community here in the City of Prescott. We will remember to manifest generosity in the giving and the sharing of material, nutritional, and spiritual property. We will remember to choose words and actions in love rather than hate, knowing that all is great is only achieved and maintained through love. And whereas we will continue working to make Dr. King's dream a reality in our community, that one day we will live in a nation where people will be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Amen. Whereas Dr. King told us to never sleep where bigotry and wrongs against people exist, we now respond to the injustice that not only happens around the world, but in our own community. Now therefore, the Mayor of Prescott, Greg McGrady, does hereby proclaim, in honor of Martin Luther King Day of Service, through intentional conversations and strategic action about what diversity and inclusion really look like for all people who live, work, play, and learn in the greater Prescott community. We are keeping Martin Luther King's dream alive for a better future. Thank you very much.
I think that we have made a lot of strides towards racial equity in this country, but as long as there are people on the border of this country who are being separated from their children, who are being put in jail because they're seeking a better life, then I think that it's a little premature to say that Dr. King's words have actually come to fruition. Because I know that I have this talk with my 12-year-old quite a bit, and I think it's important. It's important to recognize when progress has been made, and it's important to be able to say when we still have a ways to go. And when it comes to, I think it's really interesting because if you listen to the words, what he says is all men, all people. He doesn't just say citizens of the United States. He said all people, all of God's children, right? Next, we have 4 high school students who are going to come to the stage: Sean Henniger, Precious Wells, Hope Wells, and Kobe DeSella, who are students. Precious and Hope are students at Bradshaw Mountain High School, and Sean and Kobe are students at Prescott High School, and they are going to be reading selections from different speeches by Martin Luther King Jr. Come on, guys.
I'm happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. 50 years ago, a great American, in whose symbolic shadow we stand today, signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro is still not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. And so, we have come here today to dramatize a shameful condition.
On our part, we must pay our profound respects to the white Americans, who cherish their democratic traditions over the ugly concerns and privileges of generations, and come forth boldly to hold hands with us. Yes, we are on the move, and no wave of racism can stop us. We are on the move now. Let us therefore continue our triumphant march to the realization of the American dream. Let us march on poverty until no American parent has to skip a meal so that their children may eat. Let us march on poverty until wrinkled stomachs are filled and the ideal industries are realized and revitalized, and broken lives and sweltering ghettos are mended and remodeled. Let us march on ballot boxes until brotherhood becomes more than a meaningless word in an opening prayer, but the order of the day on every legislative agenda. The battle is in our hands, and we can answer with creative nonviolence and the call to high ground to which the new direction of our struggle summons us. The road ahead is not altogether a smooth one. There are no highways that lead us easily to quick solutions. We must keep going. I know what you're asking today, how long it will take. I come to you this afternoon. However difficult the moment, however frustrating it is in the hour, it will not be long, because the truth crushed to earth will rise again.
Strangely enough, I would turn to the Almighty and say,
If you allow me to live just a few years in the second half of the 20th century, I will be happy. Now that's a strange statement to make because the world is all messed up. The nation is sick. Trouble is in the land. Confusion is all around. That's a strange statement to make. But I know somehow that only when it is dark enough you can see the stars. And I see God working in this period of the 20th century in a way that men in some strange way are responding. Something is happening in our world. The masses of people are rising up, and wherever they are assembled today, whether they are in Johannesburg, South Africa, Nairobi, Kenya, Accra, Ghana, New York City, Atlanta, Georgia, Jackson,